All right, welcome in everyone. We are now into week 3 into the season, and as you guys normally do, I on Wednesdays actually I feature and react to your Bulls hot takes every Wednesdays. But I'm gonna hold off on doing that video until tomorrow, as I've got actually a very special guest with me today. You know him as the co-host from Locked On Bulls, which is an incredible daily Bulls podcast. You absolutely should subscribe to if you haven't already, because not only are the guys incredibly knowledgeable about the Bulls and diehard fans, but they're also very down to earth guys, and also. And I got to say this right, Big Dave. Battle on Bulls. His podcast, Battle on Bulls. Make sure you check that out as well. But it is my pleasure to introduce to you Big Dave of Locked On Bulls and Battle on Bulls podcast. Big Dave, thanks for being on the show, man. Appreciate you making the time.
Man, Jamal, thanks for having me on. I've definitely been watching you on YouTube for quite a while. So this is a trip for me to actually just be here right here. So, yeah, this is cool, man. Thank you.
Oh, man, for sure. So the last time we met, I was actually on your guys' show on Locked On Bulls, and that was before the start of the season. We were in the middle of the preseason, in fact, and obviously the talk at the time was, well, the Bulls are looking great and incredible in the preseason, but can they actually keep up this level of play in the regular season once the competition starts getting a little stiffer and the games actually start meaning something? Here we are a couple weeks into the season. The Bulls, although not perfect, there's still work to do. Don't get me wrong, which we'll talk about. But overall, this team has looked very good. I'm curious to know what has stood out to you the most so far in the early going of the season.
Well, first of all, shout out to you for knowing that we should do this show the day after they played Boston. Very great job on you, sir. Great foresight.
I knew they were going to come back and win, man. That's why I was like, I've got to delay with Big Dave. I know the Bulls are going to come out and win this game. Yeah.
Awesome, man. We got to talk lotto numbers after this, I swear. But the thing that I think surprised and impresses me the most, the defense is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I think I wasn't really shocked by it, but it's just the way they're doing it. That's kind of like, whoa. I knew they would be good at defense. They were 12th last year, in defensive rating. Even with Denzel Valentine and Felicio on your team, you were 12th in defense, okay? That's saying a lot about how good Billy Donovan and Mo Cheeks, shout out Mo Cheeks. It shows just how good those guys are. This year, you add higher IQ. You add guys who have chips on their shoulders, and you add guys who a couple of them are known for defense. It's contagious when guys are out there and you're seeing the work they're putting in on that end. Guys are going to want to, thrive and do better. They want to move and do better on that side of the floor. Watching them do it and do it with like 4-guard lineups is like so wild to me. Watching Javonte Green lock down 6'8" guys, you know what I'm saying? And Lonzo Ball being able to guard anybody on the floor. I don't think that's talked about enough, how Lonzo is guarding every single position. The ability to switch off anybody, like everybody on that starting five, you can switch. Like, it doesn't even matter. When you want pick and roll, you've got somebody in your face. I love what Zach Lavine is doing. I didn't need him to be the defensive stopper. I just needed him to give the effort. And he's giving maximum effort on that side. It's great. Watching DeMar DeRozan on that side of the floor. Remember, he was talked about and panned about that. Oh, he can't play defense. We know he can score. But, man, he's using his IQ to get the ball. You saw it in that Boston game when he's slapping the ball away when guys are trying to back him down inside. Give me that. Cookies every single time. It's just great to watch, and it's contagious. And then you see it on the bench. You're watching guys like Io and, of course, Caruso. I mentioned Javonte, even Alizé Johnson. I mean, all of those guys, Derrick Jones Jr., Tony Bradley. Like, you're watching all those guys just commit to defense, because it's the one thing you have to commit to. Everybody wants to score. I never thought scoring was contagious, because nobody goes out there to miss shots. Everybody wants to score. But defense is something you can control, and that's effort. And watching them put forth that maximum effort, man, that's been the big surprise to me.
Well, it's funny because, so many people thought that this Bulls team was going to be terrible on defense. We talked about that when I was on your guys' show, and yet here we are. Their defense is arguably better than their offenses as of right now, which I mean, eventually they're going to get the offense together, which not that it's bad by any means, but I think the defense has shown up more, and that's what's been more surprising for people. Has there been a player in particular that has stood out to you or surprised you the most so far this season?
Oh, a player that stood out or surprised me. I think the easy answer is Io. Yeah. I think he's the guy that stood out the most for most guys. Coming in your first game of the season, Billy Donovan's like, okay, yeah, go ahead, get in there. And I'm going to leave you in there in the fourth quarter. And not only do these things, but watch him contribute. watching his basketball IQ is amazing. He's never too high. He's never too low. Nothing gets to him. It doesn't seem like anything's rattling him. You've seen little rookie mistakes, as far as him going up for layups and getting them blocked. Like, no, you got to dunk that. Him moving, him running before he even got the ball in his hands, and he's making a move in his mind before that even happens, and it goes off his hands and out of bounds. I'm like, okay, it's not rookie. It's not like killer stuff that's happening. It's rookie stuff, but it's not like this is killing your team. It's like, oh, you know what? That's correctable. That's fixable. But my goodness, what he's giving the Bulls on both ends is amazing to watch, especially on the defensive end, of course. But it's what he's doing on both ends because he's not scared of the moment. He went to Boston Garden. It was 6 of 6 in a game.
He was huge last night. He was huge last night for us.
Colossal, man. You were down 19. He puts you in. You hit the key bucket to put that team up. And I mean, the key 3-pointer. You're on the road. You're like, I like what Dan Bernstein here in Chicago radio said. He said, that's a child. He was like, he's a child out there doing this in Boston. That doesn't happen. And it's very surprising to people. But, Chicago players are like that. They really do have that tough-minded kind of mentality like that. But it's just really great to see him thrive. And again, he's somebody who came in with a chip on his shoulder, who people are like, you're not good enough. We don't think you're good enough and things like that. He thought that he should have been in the first round. So to watch him come in and just provide that excitement, and then just not even the excitement, but actual basketball things for this team that they need on both sides of the ball. Like, I can attribute wins and losses to him. One loss, but I can attribute those things to him. He's probably the biggest surprise. Like, if I can think about it, he's the one. He's the one.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like, he's my biggest surprise too. I actually thought you were going to go with DeMar DeRozan because I think a lot of people have been very surprised by DeRozan as well. But for me, DeRozan, it's like I know this guy can ball. Right, you know what I mean? Like, I know he can score at will, and I think maybe it's been surprising for some people because he's fit really well with the team, and a lot of people are questioning that. But with Ayo, it's the confidence for me, right? You don't really see rookies coming into the league like this, playing on a good team, right? It's different when you're a rookie that's, a high lottery pick, you're drafted to a team that's for all intents and purposes tanking, and they play with confidence, right? But he's playing with a good team with a lot of stars on his team, and he's doing very well. And it's not like a Denzel Valentine type confidence, right? Where he's just confident when he's making all these mistakes and putting up air balls. Like, he's actually producing. Let's talk about that game though from last night.
Sure.
I'm talking about Ayo and his play in last night. And for those watching, we're recording this Tuesday evening. I'll be uploading it on Wednesday morning just because it's pretty late right now. But the game last night in which the Bulls had that incredible comeback in which they outscored the Celtics, I believe it was 39-11 in the fourth quarter. Now,
crazy.
I feel we were so used to seeing this Bulls team just giving up in those moments where the momentum isn't on their side. The opposing teams just making every shot they put up, but the Bulls clawed and fought their way back into winning the game. What do you think is the biggest takeaway, at least from this game? Do you think that this type of comeback win sets the tone for the season, that the Bulls are putting the rest of the league on notice? Like, are the Bulls for real? You know what I mean? Like, is it still too early to say, like, we still need to see how the rest of the season plays out? Or is this Bulls team for real?
Oh, no, they're for real as a heart attack. I mean, if you were listening to me on the show, if anybody was hearing me on the show, you heard me talking about this a lot. About how for real this team is. Like, I saw no move that didn't make basketball sense. Everything I saw them do made tons of basketball sense. Shout out AK, Mark Eversley, JJ Polk too, who's putting those contracts together. But nothing they did, I wasn't scratching my head about. I'm like, no, he fits. Yeah, he plays a nice role. Yeah, he's super athletic. Yeah, he can play defense. Yeah, they need that guy. They need an energy guy. That's perfect. That's a good fit. Everything made real sense to me. So seeing what they're doing out here, knowing they have basically 3 all-stars on their team, and once again, all of them got chips on their shoulders, but you got 3 all-stars pretty much on your team. You just got to go out there and play and see what it looks like. And you mentioned earlier, the offense, has to still come together. But I like the fact we're saying that, and it's not stopping them from scoring. You know what I mean? Like, you're still watching them score the ball. Man, the most fun thing, Jamal, like, is watching, and I said this a lot. I was like, there are going to be games where 2 of your guys aren't going to have it, but you're still going to have another guy that's going to have it. You're watching that with DeMar DeRozan. That's what you're seeing right now. Zach, with the thumb injury, still figuring out how to deal with it. Vooch, who I need people to just relax on and chill out, it's still, trying to figure his shot out and everything, but he's still almost giving you triple doubles, which is insane. But watching him still figure it out, you're like, you got to get it from somewhere. DeMar's like, I got it. You know what makes it easy for him? Is because you got 2 other all-stars that team have to worry about, so you can't double team him. So he's getting the most wide open shots he's probably seen in quite a long time in his career, and it's paying dividends, and it's great to watch. But man, dude, they're for real. It's like really seriously for real. These wins they keep getting, I keep seeing shock by these pundits, and they keep talking about the other team. When the Boston meltdown happened, it was about Boston. It was about Marcus Smart.
Lost the game.
Right, exactly. Marcus Smart after the game, Tatum and Brown, it was about them. Did you not see the defense? You know what I'm saying? Did you not see the timely scoring?
Yeah.
Did you not see the intelligence on the floor? My favorite play from that game, Maul, was when DeMar DeRozan gets the ball. It was a critical time in the fourth. He's getting the ball. Marcus Smart is bodying him near the half court line, bodying him. He jumps and he throws it to Vucevic, almost a turnover. Everything's kind of out of whack. Billy Donovan, timeout.
Let's get this in order. Yep.
Let's relax, calm down. Man, I screamed. I was so happy because it was just basketball IQ. It was so smart. I think people need to just realize how intelligent this team is on both ends of the floor. They're not just one thing. They're 2 things. Oh, they can't play defense. Well, they're doing that. I don't know if these guys can mesh on the offensive end. They're definitely doing that. Top 10 in rating and offensive rating and defensive rating. God, that means you're a good basketball team.
Right.
And since you're about 7 games, soon to be 8 games in, and you're still playing like this, how can you not be for real? I don't see how that goes down.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, last night's game, I almost kind of felt that, this game isn't over. So I have a live game chat for all of the games that I have on the YouTube channel, and people are like, game's over. It's done. And I think we've just gotten so used to that, right? It's when, they're down by this much and we're heading into the fourth quarter, which really even by the end of the third quarter, it looked like they were making a comeback. And I was like, I'm not going to rule this team out, because we saw them come back in that game against the Knicks and we're like 1 shot away from potentially winning it and still remaining undefeated. I think they're going to be able to do this and come back. And I think that's what's so great of a feeling as a Bulls fan right now, is knowing that this team isn't going to give up. And I think that's really what we've just been used to over these past few years, is the team just kind of quitting, getting their heads down when the momentum isn't going their way. And that's been such a good feeling for me. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, because obviously there are some aspects of this roster that still need to be worked on, right? There have been some instances where the Bulls have given up big leads. I'm thinking the game against the Raptors in the fourth quarter, even the Jazz, they kind of gave up a big lead there to the end. Didn't matter. They ended up winning. Right. Sometimes their offense at times has looked a little lost. You were just talking about that play where Billy Donovan's like, "Nope, calling timeout. Let's get our ducks in a row here." And just some games that they just haven't been hitting their shots. In your view, what is the single biggest area of improvement for this Bulls team as of right now?
The thing that they've improved on the most.
No, the area of improvement, thing that they need to work on the most.
Oh, the thing they need to work on the most. Wow. Oh man. It's a good question. The thing they need to work on the most, I guess, is honestly, and it's gonna sound weird, hitting shots.
Yeah. Dude, I'm the same way. It's like sometimes they're just missing open shots, even especially shots that are in the paint. I'm like, just knock those down, you know what I mean? But yeah,
they're just not making them. I'm watching the play being run, and it's the right play, and they're doing the right thing, and Vucevic has a wide open shot, and I watched him make it his whole career, and he's just missing it.
Yeah.
I watched Zach Lavine in that Boston game. It was at least 4 shots he took where they were in and out. 4. Seriously, 4 of them. I counted them. I was like, that's one. Yeah. It just went in and came out. I don't see what they're doing wrong on offense as far as, how they're running it, because Lonzo Ball is, again, an absolute godsend. The things he's doing, the game within the game that he's playing, and watching him. If you're just looking at his numbers, you think he's not doing anything. But my God, the things that he's doing, the nuances of the game that he knows, and these little strategic things that he just knows instinctually, it's been super impressive to watch. So they're running the right plays and they're getting it, doing the right thing, and they're passing it correctly. Even watching Zach run pick and rolls with Vooch all day long, and watching Zach throw him that bounce pass, and it's not too low, it's not too high. Zach struggled with that for years, with the Bulls. You even saw him doing that a little bit, and you saw a little bit of it in the Toronto game where he was turning the ball over. You know what I'm saying? Then we come to find out, it had to do with his thumb and everything like that. But you're not seeing it as often, because that used to be a thing when Zach in the fourth quarter was stepping on the baseline, stepping out of bounds, or he was turning the ball over, or he was just trying to force, because obviously it was just him and the Temptations. He didn't really have anybody else out there. But my goodness, man, like, it's just the shots have to fall. That's it. Yeah. I can't wait for that game when all of that clicks, when everything clicks and you just watching shot after shot after shot fall. You see glimpses of it. Remember in the Boston game,
the beginning of the Celtics game, they were just making everything.
Oh my goodness, it was insane. Like, just all threes, just everybody just hit threes. How about that? Yeah. And so you see glimpses of it, but it will come together because Vooch is gonna score. I'm really not concerned about it. Zach is gonna score. I'm not concerned about that. And you see DeMar doing what he does, and Lonzo's gonna provide what he provides. So yeah, it's just about hitting shots, honestly. Yeah. Like, they're getting the right looks, they're making the right plays. Just got to knock them down.
Now, when I was on your show, you had actually asked me, where I saw the Bulls landing in the Eastern Conference by season's end. Now that we're kind of talking about this team being for real, at the time I said, I'm expecting the team to finish around 5 seed mark, and I think for you it was somewhere around the same, maybe 6 seed or something like that. Now for me, I'm kind of rethinking my assessment of where this team could potentially land, especially with how some of the other teams in the East have been playing. I know it's early, but have you changed your view at all on where you think the Bulls will finish in the Eastern Conference?
Oh, I just got to ask this question. I was on Locked On NBA, and they asked me the same question, and I told them no, I haven't changed my view yet.
Okay.
I'm still like, this is 6, and this is just me staying the course. You know what I'm saying? This is just me focusing and saying, no, let me see. I want to see Coby back. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to see him back in. I want to see them play against more high-end teams, actually. Yeah. I want to see them more against these Lakers. I want to see them against the Bucks. I can't wait for this Heat game. So I want to see those games first before I know, like, if I'm gonna raise it. Because I'm resigned to the fact it won't be lower than that. like at all. It will not be lower than that. But when Matt and I did a show about best case, worst case scenario, where the team could finish, I had the best case scenario for me. I was like, they're a 3 seed if everything just goes right. Like, that's just what it is. If everything goes right and everything smooths right, this team is a 3 seed. Right now, you're seeing the best case scenario. That's what's happening right now for this team, outside of Patrick Williams' injury and things like that. But you're seeing the best case scenario for the Chicago Bulls. But I just really do want to see that. I want to see the Lakers game, man. It's like so bad. You know what I'm saying? These 2 Philly games, you know what I'm saying? I definitely want to see those. Like, and I like the fact that we're going to find out early. You know what I'm saying, about this team. We're going to get to know early. A lot of questions are going to get answered this month. And I'm very excited to see that. But as of right now, man, I'm going to stick with the 6, you know what I'm saying? And then rethink it, probably after this month.
Yeah, and I totally get that, right? Because it's like, and you were talking about this month, November. I mean, this really is going to be the toughest stretch of games that they're going to have for the season, right? And this is really going to be their biggest test, which they've already handled pretty well, right? I mean, they had the Knicks, they really took them to the last possession. They beat the Jazz, they beat the Celtics. They're going to have the Sixers coming up, and then it's going to get even harder, right? Then they go to that West Coast trip. So, agreed, right? I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like, I think that they can be higher. Well, let's get through this month and see how things, transpire, right? Because that's going to be sort of the most important thing. And you talked about Patrick Williams. I did want to actually ask about that as well. Obviously, received the news. I think it was last week. It feels like it was forever ago now, but we received that news about Patrick. He'll be out 4 to 6 months, which could potentially be the rest of the season if he returns towards the back end of that timeline, which is a huge blow for the Bulls, but more importantly for Patrick himself. I know you guys talk a lot about it on your podcast, but what does it mean for the future of Patrick, his overall development, and do you see him bouncing back from this and coming back stronger than before?
The one thing I was concerned with, and the things I'm always concerned with guys get these kind of injuries, is where are they mentally? And especially young guys, you know what I'm saying? Patrick Williams still isn't even old enough to have a drink. So I was worried about, and then he talked about how he said, I've never been injured before. And so basically in 2 weeks' time, he experienced the worst case scenarios of injuries, ankle, shoulder, and then the wrist, all in a couple weeks. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I was very concerned where he was mentally. When I heard what he had to say after that, I wasn't concerned about him anymore. I was like, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
He has the right attitude. He was like, he told you his plan of life, like as far as basketball is concerned. I want about a 10 or 15 year career.
10 to 15 year career, yep.
I know injuries are going to come with that. I was prepared for that. So, you know, it's just about getting back and getting better. I'm like, what? I'm like, you know, he's going to be okay. So for me, when I heard that mental attitude that he had, I felt so much better about him coming back and being better. Now, I talked to some friends who played and who didn't play in the league, play on, you know, practice teams and things like that in the NBA. One of them has had this same injury that Patrick Williams had. And he said, well, first of all, it's definitely devastating. It's like, it is a devastating injury for sure. And he was like, he can't do hand push-ups, like palm on the floor push-ups anymore. He has to do knuckle push-ups now. He said, but it didn't impede his progress from coming back and being better. Because he said, after I got better, I went overseas and dominated. So it didn't stop anything as far as him being a better basketball player. If anything we know about Patrick Williams, he's all about being a better basketball player. Which make that injury so frustrating, Maul, because you saw him, you saw the glimpses happening even after the injury. You still saw it in that game, man. That back down spin with the jump hook, and then he comes back down with the nice mid range. You saw it happening. You know what I'm saying? You were like, "Ooh, the glimpses, it's good." That's what sucks so much about it. But for me, it was just that. Like, I was more concerned about his mental makeup. Once I found out that was fine, I am not concerned about him as much as I would have been if I knew that he was out of there mentally. But I think he's going to come back, man, and he's going to come back strong. Of course, it's going to take some time, but sure, to get his thing correct. But I think he's going to come back strong because his mental is strong.
Well, and you'd obviously rather have, if there is going to be an injury, you know, in that form, you'd rather have it happen a lot when they're younger, right? Rather than later on in their career, because they're going to be able to recover from it a lot more quickly. But you were talking about glimpses of Patrick and what he was being able to display, and the play that actually got him injured, that was, I mean, he was going up to poster Mitchell Robinson, right? And he fell down on his wrist. And that, even when I was watching that, I was like, was that even Patrick? Like, I thought it was Javonte Green for a second there, because it was just the way that he was charging at the rim. Who do you think is going to benefit the most from Patrick being out? Who's going to take the most advantage of this opportunity now that there's an open roster spot on the starting lineup? I mean, I assume it's probably Javonte Green, but maybe there's someone else you have in mind that might be able to kind of shine now that there's extra minutes being handed to them.
I mean, Javonte is the obvious answer, but for me, it's Derrick Jones Jr. That's the guy I look at. Javonte, you already knew he was going to get his minutes because you saw what he did in the preseason. You saw it. Yeah. You're like, wait, what? You're 6'4" playing power. You're going to play. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get time. We get it. Derrick Jones Jr. wasn't getting any tick. You got to remember that. Like, he wasn't playing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he wasn't getting it for whatever reason.
Any minutes, yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Like, and I'm sure Billy Donovan, who I'm realizing is just a great, you know, strategist. Like, he really, really smart when he's figuring out the game. He plays the game for 4 quarters. He's playing chess. Like it's for real. But not seeing Derrick Jones Jr. in there for whatever reason, you were like, oh man, maybe Billy was holding him, you know, didn't want teams to see him. You know what I mean? And things like that. But he had to put him out there. And I think he's going to benefit the most because for me, he's the obvious guy who's starting. But I love how Billy Donovan still isn't starting him. You know, in that Boston game, because I just talked about, you know, being that master strategist, Javonte Green obviously shouldn't have been the one starting if we're going back size-wise. Because Boston played basically 2 centers, you know what I'm saying, 2 big 6'7", 6'8" guys, and Marcus Smart, who's the smallest person out there. And Javonte is as tall as Marcus Smart, and he got him on Al Horford. So I'm thinking, like, why is he, you know, I was like, no, I'm not going to question him. He's going to do it. And then I figured out why. This is my opinion. Watching Javonte go out there and play against Jaylen Brown, you saw Jaylen Brown getting loose. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was scoring buckets and doing what he needed to do. In that 4th quarter, the person he had out there on him was Derrick Jones Jr. And I think the reasoning for that was he didn't want him to get comfortable or figure that out in the first quarter or even the first half. I think he brought that in the fourth quarter just to clamp him up and shut him down a little bit, because players figure you out as the game is going, like all the good ones do. And I think that's why he didn't want him to be mentally prepared to go up against Derrick Jones Jr. Because when he brought him in the fourth, he wasn't ready for that. He just wasn't. So I think guys like Derrick Jones Jr. are going to benefit the most from these minutes, man, because what he's shown on the defensive end also has been amazing. And you know what he can do on the offensive end too.
Big Dave, was it you? I can't remember, on the Locked On Bulls podcast. I can't remember if it was Locked On Bulls or if it was a different podcast that you said, you know, the investigation was leaked potentially by Gar Forman.
Oh, that was me.
You know, you've got these like theories, and then I like start to think, and I'm like, you know what? He has a point. And then like even like the reason I'm bringing it up is because you're talking about Javonte Green and why Billy Donovan started him, but then had Derrick Jones Jr. on him in the fourth so that Jaylen Brown wouldn't figure it out. I'm like, yeah. You got some points here, man.
It's not just a hat rack, baby.
I would not put it past Gar Forman to leak that information.
Dude,
as far as the Lonzo Ball
believe that, Paul. Like, it is too coincidental for me when I sit there and I watch it, and I'm like, nah, that's real garish. Like right now, man, just tricking off on the team like that. Like, it just really feels like Gar. So, and I like the fact nothing's come from this investigation yet. Like, they asked Adam Silver, he's like, you know, basically he said we got nothing. That's what he said. Yeah. We got nothing. But
if it's taking this long, it's most likely going to be nothing. At least we hope it.
Exactly.
So I mentioned at the top of the show that every Wednesday I do Bulls hot take video for my audience, and because I've been fortunate enough to have you on, I'm holding off on doing that video until Thursday. But I want to get a big Dave hot take from you about this Bulls team, and then I'll give my reaction to it.
Okay, a hot take. Here's one for you. Lonzo Ball will be first team all defense, and he'll be an all-star.
Ooh, I don't know, man.
You said hot. You want it hot.
It's very hot. It's a good hot take, and actually, I think I've gotten some that have been similar to that. Okay. A lot of people are saying, you know, Lonzo's going to be an all-star. I don't think that he's going to be first team all defense, because you're talking about guys like Draymond Green, Ben Simmons, not Justin Holiday, Drew Holiday. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that were first team, you know, all defense. Those are some big shoes to fill. Second team, I could see. I could easily see him being second team all defense. He's at least going to get some votes, you know, whether he makes the team or not, because he's clearly shown up incredibly well on the defensive end. I mean, it's one thing that bothers me about some Bulls fans, like Lonzo's sucking. He's not hitting his shots. He's not putting up crazy scoring numbers. Like, that's not his game. You know what I mean? Like, or he's not even, you know, putting up enough assists. And it's like, yeah, but you're not seeing all the other things that he's doing on the court. And that's part of the reason why the Bulls are much better than they were before. And so I do think that, I think that he is going to get some recognition for his defense, and at least getting some votes. And I think he could potentially make second team. First team, that's a lot. All-star, all depends on how the Bulls, are faring towards as we get closer to the All-Star break, right? Because right now the Bulls are 6-1. They're the best team in the league, the best team in the East. The all-star selections are so heavily predicated on how a team is doing performance-wise. So if the Bulls are still sitting with like a 1 seed and we're coming in like end of January, I could see it, right? And especially if, you know, he's obviously a big piece of that. I think no question Zach Lavine and DeMar DeRozan will get it. One of the things I talked about on my channel was that I actually don't think Vucevic is going to get an all-star selection, even though he was last year and DeRozan wasn't. Just because I don't think he's not going to be able to shine as much as he used to, because he was the #1 option for so long on Orlando. Right now, you got Lavine, you got DeRozan, and Lonzo Ball, and so I think as a result, he probably won't get it. So I think Lavine, DeRozan, absolutely, they're going to get all-star selections, and then I think Lonzo's sort of that. Depends on how well the Bulls end up doing. If they're still sitting with like a 1 or 2 seed and we're getting close to the All-Star game, I think he's gonna get a lot of votes, probably get selected. It's a great hot take. I like it because I think a lot of people are feeling similar in that regard, right? But it's funny because Lonzo Ball is such a polarizing figure. You know, some people are like, I can't stand the guy because he doesn't score enough, or he doesn't play make enough in the half court. And it's like,
Look,
not everybody's going to be perfect, right? And it's like, first of all, he's also only 23. He's still got time to learn and get better. Yeah. So I get that, people are on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Did we not just watch him teach himself how to shoot threes? Like, we just watched him in about a year or two, change his entire shot. Players don't do that. Players don't really change their shot. They're like, I'm comfortable this way. This is what got me here. I'm sticking with it. Let's see what we could do. He is humble enough to say, you know what? I want to get better. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. And he went and he changed his shot. And now he's like, I think I'm one of the best shooters in the league. These are his words. He thinks I'm one of the best shooters in the league. But what you were saying earlier about people complaining, like I said, it's the game within the game that he's playing. It's so many plays. I talked about it today on Locked On Bulls because it's funny you're saying this because we had a Lonzo Ball segment. We just talked about stuff Lonzo Ball does. And one of the things I talked about were 2 plays. And I'll tell you one. Was the DeMar DeRozan 3-point shot that he hit from that corner in the 4th quarter. If you watch Lonzo Ball and what he did when he went from one side of the court and he stopped at the free throw line like he was setting a pick, but it was like real minuscule how he stopped. It was just a little like twin, to make the defense think he was doing it, got them off their square, and then he kept moving around Vooch, went outside to the elbow, he gets the ball, and you see him just square his shoulders. He didn't even fully square. He looked like he was about to shoot. And he was, of course, 4-6 on the 3-point line. So it looked like, oh man, this dude is hot. I got to get out there on him. The defender jumps at him. Boom. There you go, DeMar. It was so quick and so right to do. Just a little, it was, there you are. Gave him all the room he needed to knock down that shot again. He knocked down that shot this time with plenty of time. Stuff he's doing on the offensive defensive end with that kind of thing is incredible.
Exactly right. It's the intangibles, right? If you look at a stat sheet, maybe it doesn't look that great for Lonzo, but that's not what makes his game so great and why he's doing things for the Bulls that are enabling them to be so successful, at least early on anyway. So I definitely agree. I'm curious to see how things are going to, play out as far as whether he's going to get some potential all-star recognition, some defensive team recognition, like you're saying. I think it's a bit too early. Obviously, when we talk about that, we got to see how the rest of the season plays out. This month is going to be very, very important for the Bulls. But Big Dave, I cannot thank you enough, my man, for taking the time out of your evening to talk Bulls basketball with me. I really, really do appreciate it. Appreciate all the great work that you guys do in creating Bulls content. You're obviously hope to stay in touch throughout the season. And guys, again, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Bulls podcast. I'll leave a link to both of those podcast and their YouTube channel in the description. You don't want to miss out on their great content. So thanks again, Big Dave. I really appreciate you having on, man.
Well, thank you for having me, my man.
And guys, as always, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in my post-game video tonight after the Sixers game. Actually, Big Dave, real quick, who you got?
I'm going with the Bulls. I mean, why not?
Why not, right?
Why not?
I think Tobias Harris is out, and
Danny Green
potentially, and Danny Green.
Danny Green's out.
There you go. I'm going with the Bulls as well. Right? We're not biased at all.
No.
Anyway, all right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it.